Hello again. This is Charlie Belfontaine, and you're listening to the Homebuyers Hour. Good morning, everybody. In the studio with me, I have our favorite attorney, Patrick Loftus. Patrick, if you don't mind, how do people get hold of you?
Good morning, Charlie. You are welcome to get a hold of me by sending me a text message. It's 2022. That's how we all communicate.
What? No fax machine? What the heck?
Please do not
I
fax me.
hear Joey.
If
You made Joey choke over here in the back.
if you fax me, I will judge you in some kind of way.
Oh, no.
My phone
I'm
number
right
to
there.
send a text message: 773-632-8330.
Sounds good. And Joey, if you're still alive, he's remote.
Oh, coffee.
How do people get hold of you, young man?
Oh, you know what? Go to the next one. I can't talk yet. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm choking on my coffee. It's so bad. All right. Sorry. Joey Mathews, NMLS 1330694 at the Federal Savings Bank, World's Okayest Mortgage Guy, all that good stuff. You can reach me, text or call, 630-235-2405.
Okay. I'm going to let you get your breath, and hopefully you're not going to die on us. That's a good thing. Our in-studio guest real estate agent today has been selling real estate since 2011. He has an extensive background in construction and investing. His big, audacious goal is to educate his buyers, and he does that throughout the entire process. His name is Adam Murphy of the ATM team of BHHS, or Berkshire Hathaway of Chicago. Adam, if you don't mind, give us a shout out to family, friends, and tell us about your company, what makes you special, and how do people get hold of you?
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Charlie, for having me on here. Yeah. Shout out to my wife, Tabitha, because without her, it's not the ATM team. It's just the AM team, which I like to wake up in the morning, but hey.
No, I do too. I get it.
So, but yeah, no, you can get a hold of me. My phone number is 708-595-2417. Text is great. Email Adam at theatmteam.com. So
Sounds good. And you guys are pretty decent producers. I'm real happy about that. And I want to go into such in greater detail in a little bit on what makes you unique. And again, everything is about raising the profession, educating home buyers, and just letting people know there's some good human beings out there. But before we delve into that, Joey, give us what's going on in this great United States of America regarding financials, if you're still alive.
Yeah, I know. God. Oh, that was so bad. Anyway, yeah, so, I mean, as everyone is well aware, if you are in the house hunt, obviously reach out to your lender and make sure that you still qualify for what you're trying to buy, especially if you were really tipping the edge on your debt ratios. So the Fed is obviously meeting. They're in session right now. They'll be releasing their plan for either a 3/4 point or 1/4 point. I'm sorry, a full point price hike on the Fed base borrowing rate today. I'm personally hoping for a point. If they stay the course at 3/4 of a point, I think the market may actually worsen. If they go for a full point, I think we get some softening. But the big thing that has affected markets over the last 2-3 weeks is on a Friday evening, right as markets were closing, the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, the Fed was all in Jackson Hole. They were, having a good time doing whatever the Fed does at Jackson Hole. And Jerome Powell came out. He had notes for his meeting, and the notes were released, and they were very dovish, talking about the soft landing, still anticipating the soft landing. He actually goes up to speak, and he throws away the script and says that the economy has to go through significant pain before we can recover from, essentially, recover from COVID, right? That's what is
A lot of money got
base
tossed
cause of
into our economy during all that praise. So,
Yeah.
I
Money ain't
am
free.
curious about one thing that you just said. You're hoping for one, and you think that's going to give more stability. Can you go into more detail on that?
Well, it shows that the Fed is committed to fighting inflation as fast as possible, right?
Okay.
So it creates more trust in the plan. And that's what we've seen when previously they planned for a 0.5 point increase and they did a 3/4 point increase instead. The markets went crazy for a couple of days, and then they settle down lower than they had been before the meeting. So it shows the commitment to combat inflation, right? The only issue is if in the future they continue on 1% increases or 3/4, you have to find a happy place to where you're not pushing hard, and then you just end up in a recession because unemployment skyrockets, and because as the cost to borrow money from the Fed increases, it makes it harder to maintain employees because you can't afford them anymore, right? So that's what causes the unemployment numbers to rise. And if the unemployment numbers are rising and GDP is negative, you're in a recession, and that's what they have to try to balance. They still, at this point, I'm pretty sure the Fed is saying, "F it, we have to go into a recession." I'm sorry, I don't know if I could say that on the radio.
So definitely
Leave me out.
zip that out if need be, but that's all right. We'll keep moving.
Thank you, Devin. All right. I'm pretty sure at this point they are committed to, not committed, but understanding that we are going to be in a recession. I've been talking about that for a few months now. Charlie, you're aware.
Almost more than a year. Yeah, we've been having this conversation. And
Exactly.
I even had it a little bit recently with my son. He was asking about, what's going to happen. He's getting nervous. He's a new homeowner and stuff. And I would love to hear everyone's chime in on this one. But I keep telling him, I said, and you've heard this before, when I bought my first home, it was, I can't remember, 19 to 21% interest on a $100,000 home in Elmhurst, right? And, my grandmother would tell me, well, we got this house for a 2% or 3% mortgage. I'm like, yeah, that'll never happen, right? And everything goes back down. And now he's sitting with a 2.2. I think I don't even know what we have, but it's ridiculous if we do have one. But those numbers can't stay there. I just don't see it. I don't know what that happy number is going to be. I remember when it got to 10, but he's fearing that everything's going to be shutting down, and going. I'm trying to explain to him it's kind of like a big boat. When you're making these changes, when COVID was hitting, they had to keep dropping to encourage people to keep buying, and it worked. It got us through it. They dumped a bunch of money into everything else, so that worked. It got us through it, and now we're on the other end of things, and now we got to stop that boat from turning, because otherwise it's going to go straight into the iceberg, and then it's going to be a Titanic thing all over again with their economy. So, but in changing it back, you can't oversteer that. It just reminds me when I was 9 years old. I'm going to go on a trigger moment here. I was 9 years old in Wisconsin Dells, and the guy let me drive the duck or whatever that goes in the water and the land, and I couldn't keep that thing straight to save my life, and I think he just gave me a wheel that was spinning for what it was worth. But anyway, I bloviated, Joey, which help me out, bail me out of that.
Yeah, it's like when you break your arm, they dope you up with morphine, which is the money being pumped into the economy, but eventually you got to wean off and go through the pain. So that's my analogy for what we're going through right now.
No, I love it a lot.
COVID was the arm break, the money was the morphine, and now we're being weaned off.
I love that a lot. So I'm going to get back on subject here and talk more with Adam, and I want to get his thoughts, and I want the two of you to chime in, and I could sit back a bit. But he threw out, when we had our discussion earlier, about a keyword, expectations, all right? And for our business, I know expectations is like one of the most important words. If we do not meet and exceed our clients' expectations, they're going to be angry with us. They're going to feel we did a bad job for them. Even if we did the greatest job in the world, if we don't meet their expectations, we did a bad job. So, Adam, my question to you is, with the mortgage, with the attorneys, even with our business, the home inspectors, how do you set those expectations with your client?
Yeah.
What's your process?
Well, I tend to like to get a chance to just do like a buyer's meeting with them, whether it's over Zoom or even if it's needs to be at a property, right? They call you up and they want to see a property. I'm not opposed to meeting them at a property, show them one place, but then you have to have that conversation with them, and a lot of that conversation is setting expectations. What is it that I do as a buyer's agent, right? What value do I bring to the table? And that's the sales pitch. We were talking about that. I don't sell houses, I sell a service. So, let them know what that service is, what it isn't, and try to figure them out. Every client is different, so you set the expectations appropriately for every client.
Now, Joey was mentioning that, tell people to recheck their pre-approvals, and I saw you nodding your head yes. Stand on that.
Well,
why?
Yeah, I mean this last, well, shoot, Joey, what was it, like March? What were interest rates in March of this year? They were still.
Oh my gosh, they were. Yeah, I mean,
right?
I was still exactly. It was crazy.
And so you've got people that you're out doing showings with, looking at $500,000 houses that got pre-approved in February, March, and then comes the summer, late summer, and now we're talking 5-6%, and they can't afford that 500. They're back to, they're looking at 400 now. So got some clients that have been working with that just could not pull the trigger for the last, for whatever reason, right? They start looking, they stop, they start, they stop. But I've been with them for about 2.5 years, and their purchasing power from 2.5 years has just gone down. They haven't changed, their income level hasn't changed, so what they can buy has gone down. So yeah, in this market, you gotta keep rechecking to make sure,
It's been so hard over the past 2.5 years to really nail down where the market's at. Every time I think I have a good notion or sense of it, all of a sudden the sands shift. I mean, what you're talking about in terms of the buying power, I think you also balance that as far as they're also not necessarily having to bid 20,000 over list to get something under contract. So it's like, don't forget what it was like back when you could afford 500,000.
Right.
You could afford 500,000, but no one wanted to sell you anything for 500,000.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we're back to negotiating. I don't feel like pricing has corrected that much. I think pricing's flatlined, but yeah, we're certainly back to negotiating, right? Like, which is a nice breath of fresh air.
Yes, I'm not. I mean, I get the contract once it's been negotiated, but you look at a contract that comes in and it says that we're waiving appraisal or
appraisal gap waivers.
Yeah, I mean, I literally in 20 years never seen something like that. Now, I'm constantly surprised in this business, whether I like it or not. But yeah, we'll look back on that perhaps and tell stories to our clients in the future about, wow, well, would you believe back in 2021 that people were just saying, I don't care what it's worth, just take my money.
Yeah, I'll do anything. Waive inspection, waive appraisal. I'll close and as fast as possible.
Charlie, you must like shudder to think that people would be just out there waiving appraisals.
Or inspections.
I am, and Joey as well.
Inspections, right.
But I get it, and I've always had a phrase that desperate people do desperate things, and you want to own a home. It's the great American dream to own a home. The only drawback is sometimes that great American dream can be the great American nightmare. Yeah. And if somebody, and this is where I think, Adam, you and I are going to hit it off quite a bit with your background in construction and, the garage, the electric, everything else that comes in there. And it's kind of something that I'm trying to move forward with. And again, with those expectations, the more real estate agents that we can get to understand what the home inspectors should know, the more of those hurdles, problems, issues, whatever the word might be, you can stop before they get to that 5 business day.
Absolutely.
Get everything done in 1 second moment.
Yeah. I use the analogy, like I said before, like, with my construction background and framing houses, some electrical, just owned a lot of rental properties and started really young. So, I'm 42, tell people I've got my PhD in real estate because I've been doing this since, probably 17. But the analogy of, I don't want you to get to the home inspection, right? I'd rather educate you and point stuff out. So working hand in hand with the home inspector, you've got some agents that think that the home inspectors are the deal breakers. Well, I'm going to break the deal up before it gets to that, right? I'm going to walk through that house, know more about that house in 20 minutes than the listing agent typically does. And I think that's important. I think, like you said, I think real estate agents should have some sort of training on a little bit of stuff on what it means to own a house.
I agree.
So we get a lot of first-time home buyers that, you know, they buy a house and they think, oh yeah, I did it. I bought a house. And now reality hits them.
Now what?
Because
Right?
they might have had a bad real estate agent and a bad home inspection. And now, you know, they're stuck with a house that, yeah, they could afford the 10% down or whatever, but they can't afford to maintain it.
But
And
this
now
is where all you guys start building your relationships with each other too.
Yeah.
You know, everybody thinks, well, I'm just going to do my little part and then I'm done. Patrick's going to do his little part and he's done. Joey's going to do his little part, but he's done. The real estate agent, through the transactions, ends up being the hub with all these spokes going out in every different direction.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, Joey, I mean, when you guys are setting the expectations with the client that's going to start looking at houses, what are some of the things that you and the real estate agents talk about to let's get this mindset going, you know?
Yeah. Joey, do you want to talk?
Well,
Yeah.
No, for me, it's definitely inspections are never necessarily going to be a deal killer, but with a first-time home buyer, everything that comes up on an inspection in their mind is a deal killer.
And that's emotions, yeah.
Exactly. So I let them know, like, hey, this inspection, we're going to look over it. We're going to see what's serious, and you're going to do this with the realtor and attorney as well, right? And if it's something that you want to investigate further, you can absolutely do that. Like if there's signs of water damage, I would suggest, you know, getting it checked for mold, right? Because that could be a huge health concern.
Joey, do you get
but-
a lot of buyers that come in and ask you about the results of the home inspection?
I do, because a lot of my buyers come to me before they get to a realtor. Because I mean, just like everyone in this industry, we're all referral based, right?
Right.
So I make the contact with the realtor for the buyer, and then because I was their first point of contact, it seems to be that that's where their trust goes to. Or with VA loans, and I know I keep going into VA loan market.
But
here,
you
Charlie,
should, Joey. You are an expert where it comes to that. And I get it that that you do offer all types of mortgages, but seriously, what you know about the process of the VA, you know, is impressive. And you should be focusing on that. Sorry, I'm going to cry.
Yeah, well, no, it's okay. It's okay. When it comes to the VA loans, I'm just going to say government loans in general, because they follow very similar paths when it comes to minimum property requirements. But I love to see the inspection, because then I can be like, hey, there's a missing handrail. That's going to have to get remedied. An appraiser's going to hit that. Hey, there's, you know, no GFCIs in the kitchen or GFI outlets in the kitchen. That's going to have to get remedied. You know, just the minimum safety requirements and kind of guiding them on the bigger issues that the VA would have. So like chipping paint on the exterior, I know we've talked about it, but that's going to be a second visit from the appraiser that we can't self-certify the repair, you know, so that's an additional cost to them. So if we can get it fixed prior to the appraiser getting there, beautiful.
You just
So
save
that's
somebody
my
150
goal.
or more.
I can
Exactly.
see I can see where you're getting involved a lot with the VA or FHA loan on, you know, from your perspective. That's probably where you're diving into a lot. I tend to, I mean, I got a great relationship with the lender, and, you know, he does a great job of educating the buyers on the loan products that are out there and stuff like that, and then hands them off and, you know, puts more of that on my shoulders, which I want, right? Like, I want to be able to be that hub. You know, you're, as a real estate agent, you're not only the, you know, showing them houses, you're the marriage counselor. You're, you know, you're a little bit of everything. You are a hub of just figuring it out. But I hope my goal would be, you know, once we get to that home inspection, it's kind of a afterthought. Like, my greatest compliment I feel like I get at a home inspection is when the home inspector points something out and the client goes, "Oh yeah, I knew about that. Adam showed me." Whatever, right? Like that.
I would be. Yeah,
that's my
that
goal.
would be awesome.
That's my goal.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think you would tend to see a lot of that. You know, just to touch on something you said a little bit earlier, this time has value, right? And the sooner you can find what is important in the transaction, what about the home is going to be a flashpoint, whether it is an aging HVAC system, if you notice that the breaker box is a brand that had a recall at some point, whatever it is.
Right.
If you can identify that before you make the offer, you can either decide not to make the offer, which saves a lot of time. You know, that 5 business days, you know how long that can feel, especially
Right.
if there's a weekend
Yep.
in between. Or you can negotiate that as part of the ultimate purchase price. That's where you're going to get the value of all of that. And I will tell you, I work with a lot of real estate brokers. There are not that many that really know what they're looking at when it comes to a property. They
Right.
understand the market, but they don't necessarily understand the bricks and sticks.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different values that real estate agents can add. You know, you could be specific to a condo building, right, or specific to an area. I tend to cover a pretty big area, and it's because of the background of just knowing houses. So if I'm looking at a 1920s bungalow in Berwyn versus, an early 2000 new build out in Naperville, right, which is a funny thing.
Yeah.
You notice all those 2000s were like big swimming pool tubs and the tiniest little one-person shower. That drives me crazy.
I live
But-
in one of those, so I know it dearly. So,
yeah, but
Yeah,
Adam, let's go around the horn again. Give us your contact information and how do people get hold of you?
yeah. So thanks, Adam Murphy. Phone number 708-595-2417. Email just adam@theatmteam.com.
I got to say, I got one of Adam's business cards, and it looks like a little ATM card. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm sorry. Patrick, how do they get hold of you?
Indeed, I do pick up the phone. I do talk on the phone
No,
from
who
time to
are
time.
you?
I know. Well,
You
I'm
know?
I'm like, I'm on the cusp of, millennial / Gen X. So I've lived in the analog
Yes.
world. I've also lived in the digital world.
Okay.
So if you're in the analog world, by all means, pick up the phone, dial these numbers, 773-632-8330. I will pick up and I will talk to you.
I love it. And Joey, how do they get hold of you? We may have lost Joey.
I can be rude.
Oh, there he is. Sorry.
No, yeah, I'm sorry. 630-235-2405. Call or text anytime. And then on social media, Joey W. Mathews, across Instagram, Facebook, and then on TikTok, if you're bored, mortgages are fun.
Mortgages are fun. I love that name. And I've been noticing you've been getting a little active lately, and I've been enjoying reading some of those social media posts that you're putting up there. And that's what I'm trying to do too, is increase the education and the short blurbs, just so we can, start pumping out knowledge to everybody. The name of our company is Chicagoland Home Inspectors. We have offices in Northbrook and Chicago. Our main phone number is 312-544-9180. And our website is www.thehomeinspectors, and it's plural. It's an ORS, and it's a .com. Anybody who's a real estate agent, home inspector, or even a homeowner, we do have a education service, and we're adding more and more. And the whole idea of this thing is going to end up being free knowledge and trying to lift the profession on all different avenues. So it's called right now the Home Inspection University of Illinois, and that website is HIUIL.com. So Home Inspection University Illinois.com. Now, one thing too that we were chatting a little bit earlier, and I kind of like Patrick, you and Adam to talk about this a little bit, is going back. You started talking about, I noticed an issue when I went through before I made the purchase offer, or before I completed a contract. And then the home inspection was done, the same issue comes up again. How do you two handle that without, with maintaining the trust in the client? How do you get that information into their noggins?
Yeah, I mean, certainly setting expectations, back to that word, right? Like
Huge.
I'm going to set the expectations of what's realistic from a home inspection. And ultimately, I want them like I said before, I would rather tell them what I see most importantly during the showing. So when we get to the home inspection, it's not a surprise. But
Surprises
then,
are not good.
yeah,
Absolutely.
but then, when it comes to something where, yeah, you get the report back and then they want to ask for something that we told them about. Well, there's two ways that can go, right? If I used it in the negotiation with the other agent, well, they're going to come back and say, well, you knew about that, and you kind of get
Yeah.
into a sticky situation there. But and it was baked into the price, right?
Yeah, when you're not working with a cohesive team, if everyone's more or less working independently, it doesn't go as well as when there's good communication between the real estate broker, the lawyer. We sometimes get the inspector involved to use their expertise when
Never
it
get
comes
the
to
inspector involved. What's wrong with you two? The inspectors are the bad guys. All right.
whoever's not sitting in the room with you is the bad guy. I can promise you that. So what you just mentioned, where there's a situation where it seems like a buyer is taking a second crack at negotiating something that was already in the seller's mind done and dusted, it's something that will inflame the seller emotionally.
Yeah.
And I think that if you don't consider the fact that these transactions are extremely emotional for most people, you're missing out on a key element of the big picture. What I like to know is that if I have a conversation with a buyer and I say, well, I see this, this, and this on the inspection report, they're not necessarily going to say, oh, yeah, all that was baked into the negotiation. They're going to say, oh, should we ask for that? All they see is an opportunity. It may not be an opportunity. It may be actually a place where you might touch a nerve. I don't want to be touching nerves if I don't have to be touching nerves.
Right.
And these are conversations I know, and I've had enough experience to know that this is something that does happen quite a bit on the other end of these transactions. A lawyer will either go rogue, do their own thing, or they don't take the realtor's opinion as seriously as they ought to.
Right.
And they will do that thing where it seems to the seller like a second bite is being taken at the apple. And you have to explain to that seller, well, it's not that the buyer is trying to upset you, because if you're unnecessarily doing that, I don't know why you would,
Right.
that it's just as likely that this is just a lack of communication. And then you circle back with the broker on your side of things and you say, I think there might have been a miscommunication or a lack of communication on the other side.
Yeah.
Maybe talk to the other broker and let them know this was something that didn't necessarily come across in the best way. So
Yeah,
see if we can
there's-
smooth that out.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of breakdowns that can happen. I mean, realistically, like in Illinois, there's a lot of people that get involved in a transaction, right?
There are.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, we're an attorney state. There's places that don't get attorneys involved at all, right? But we're
Scary.
Yeah, it is. I've done both. I'm from Nebraska. We didn't use attorneys there, and thinking back to it now, like it's really great having an attorney. But so to me, I think as long as we all stay in our lanes, and the way I like to handle it, and because of my construction background and everything, I advise. Obviously, I'm not an attorney. I don't advise on the contract modifications or legal advice, but I can tell my client, like, hey, this is typical of a real estate transaction on the repair items, right? Or credit requests and stuff like that. So to me, I think if that breakdown happens, it's a shame on the real estate agent, because they really should be stepping up in that instant, because they're the ones that did the negotiations. We're the ones that put the contract together, and we know what those expectations of the sellers and of the buyers are. Educate the buyer up front so that they know, this is what's realistic. Have those conversations before that letter goes out, because you can't pull it back.
Well, that's kind of
Yeah.
what Joey was saying with the government and the finances that come into everything. They're going to talk about raising the interest rates. They're going to tell you they're going to raise the interest rates, they're going to raise the interest rates when it comes in there. That way, it's just harder for people to be surprised. And you mentioned it earlier, when your client gets those surprises. I mean, pleasant surprises, they're happy. Unpleasant surprises, it's like, holy cow, what's going on? You
Yeah.
know?
Well, and then we just got to deal with them. You know, we can't see everything in 20 minutes of walking through a house. So, you know, as good as you can be at spotting things, it takes the 3-hour home inspection to get everything out. But, you know, if that surprise comes up, then let's talk about it. Let's figure out what's realistic and not the knee-jerk reaction and the worst-case scenario every time.
No, and that's what I like about you two talking, you know, with each other. I'm sorry, Patrick.
Yeah, no, the way I see this is very much a team sport. And, you know, if I'm playing right wing and he's playing defense, I shouldn't be standing in front of the net, to use a hockey analogy, which this isn't the station for that. It used to be the station for that, but it's not anymore. And what I typically say, and this might get me in trouble, but a real estate transaction will go as smooth as the least competent person involved.
Yeah,
Yes.
the
So-
weakest
That's
link is
That's
the chain.
great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if you've got a lawyer that he handles primarily divorce and criminal defense, good luck.
Yeah.
If you've got a realtor who is primarily handling single family detached homes in Naperville, and they're trying to sell a 3-flat in North Center, it's going to be a tricky one. If you've got a lender who has a team that's not very well put together, not cohesive, oh my gosh, that might be the worst one.
So let me hit you with the hard question. And Adam, I'm going to hit you with the same one. All right. So, Patrick, let's say that I'm a home buyer and I don't want to use my real estate agent's referral. I want to start interviewing. How do I know you're good? What are some of the questions I should be asking you to feel that, all right, this guy has enough experience and he could prove that he's worthy of me?
Well, the first thing I'd want to know is what portion of your practice is residential real estate
Great
transactions.
question.
So,
And what do you think is a good answer?
well, the best answer would be the answer I would give, which is almost all of my practice
Okay.
is residential real estate transactions. I know that person is focused on that. They want to keep up to speed with what the latest and greatest is. They're going to be able to get deep in the weeds on real estate taxes, and that's another 53-minute, probably even more. Don't get me started. I'd rather go back and do the economics radio program that you and Joey were doing earlier on. I got so much to say. But these kinds of questions, you will get a vibe from the lawyer that you're talking to, whether this is something that they're focused on, that they are passionate about, but whatever it is. If not, if you're not getting that vibe, then it's time to move on. And you'll already have seen what their Google rating is, whatever. That's
Yeah, but a lot of
does that.
people aren't going to go to Google and comment on home inspectors and real estate agents. I know they do.
There's not a lot of time,
well,
though,
home
for the
inspectors they do, but
I think there's not a lot of time for them on the attorney part, because I think most of the time, the lead source comes from the lender or the real estate agent, right? And then they're, whoever that might be, if it's the lender's initial lead and then he's dispersing to the real estate agent and that whatever, then they usually speak into it a lot about, the client trusts them for their referrals. So when I bring a lead in, I get it to a lender, and then at that point, the attorney's not involved until we have a contract. Then, clock's ticking, right? Like, we've got to pick an attorney really quick. So most of the time they're just, yeah, your recommendation's great. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
what makes
that's
somebody
true.
good enough for you then? Let me turn it around. Because let's be realistic. We are in the reputation business.
Yeah.
Once we get that trust, I look at it as being married.
Yeah.
And if anybody's ever been divorced, you have unpleasant feelings towards your ex-spouse. And you wonder, well, how can you hate somebody so much or be angered by them so much? It's because you loved them so much.
Right.
You opened up, you had so much trust, you had everything in there, and then they harmed you. So if we ever lose our trust,
That's it.
we're done.
Yeah.
We're out of business when it comes to it. So the value of the business partnerships that you have are extremely important. what makes a good attorney to you?
Yes, tell me how I win your trust. This is the whole reason I'm sitting here.
Well, I didn't mean to go that route, but it is important. I'd
No,
like to
for sure.
know
It is.
what is good and what is bad. I've seen both.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, certainly. So my experience with bad ones, right, are usually the family attorney, right? You get a client, they use your attorney or they use your lender, whatever. But when it comes to the attorney, they've got their the family attorney, or they
my
did
cousin's
this.
a lawyer.
Yeah, or they did this
Vinny?
one deal.
Isn't it a movie?
Yeah, that one.
They're
Okay.
always terrible too. We all cringe when I hear that because it just usually doesn't go well.
It's funny that you say that because whenever I do have a family member that uses me, one of the first things I'll do is reach out to the agent and be like, I actually am a real estate lawyer, so
Don't worry.
don't freak out. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
because
all
we
right.
are freaking out, right? Yeah. I think what makes a good attorney to me is back to that communication standpoint. Like, when we talked about this, we're the non-educated. We don't have to get a degree, right?
Yeah.
The attorney does. So a lot of times you can run into the people that want to speak down to you because you're just a real estate agent, and they probably have had bad experiences with bad real estate agents, and I get
There's
it,
good
right?
and bad everywhere.
Right. And so when that bleeds through and all of a sudden that's put on me, I'm like, hey, wait. I'm not the bad real estate agent. I'm here to help. If blowing up this deal is the best thing for a client, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Right. And the attorneys that want to be combative with me with the same client, that's where I'm just like, why? We're on the same team.
Right.
Right.
It's team sport.
Yeah. So, allowing me to speak into the, a repair request, asking me for my advice or whatever. I really feel like that brings about the best experience for the client.
And I can't, for us, everything always boils down to two things: how much and who pays. And I repeat that, I know, all the time. But I can't help them with the who pays stuff. There's too many things that I don't know.
Right.
I don't know the market. I don't know how bad they want the place. I don't know what a good deal it is. I don't know any other, what's it called, a CMA, a comparative market analysis?
Yeah, sure.
Do you provide that for your buyers?
We go through, so for sellers, you would, right? I personally, I don't go into that whole layout. We'll look at comps. I send the comps to them.
Is what I should have said.
Yeah, comparable properties, right? And so, we lay all that out. We have that conversation, but I don't go into quite the formal as like my wife would for a listing appointment. Right,
but they should know how much power they have.
Exactly, right. We kind of have a game plan, going into a negotiation of like, hey, here's where we're going to start. Here's where we're hoping to end up, somewhere in there of a range, and we'll see what we can get, and figure out what's important to them closing wise and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, I really wouldn't understand myself why a lawyer would feel like they're like one up on anyone else in the transaction.
Oh, I've seen it.
Listen, I know a few lawyers, and somehow achieving that status makes them feel some kind of way about themselves. I can tell you, lawyers aren't special in any kind of way like that. We're special in the sense that we have a particular training and we have a particular skill set. But that doesn't mean I could do either of your jobs and be competent at it.
Yeah.
And you guys have your role, and I need you guys to be to serve your role. And, the more what I do, the more what I do bleeds into the realtor's role or the inspector's role.
Okay.
The less the client is getting the top service.
Yeah. And I don't want this to sound like we're bashing attorneys because I
please.
think, like I said before, man, like
I'll bash home inspectors in a heartbeat.
having
there's good and
attorneys
bad.
involved, I feel like I love the fact that there's an attorney involved, right? Like it makes my life a little easier.
You don't have to explain a lot of those
Right.
things.
Yeah.
I have a lot opinions about the other lawyers in this field. So,
Well,
and
that's
a different
everything, yeah.
that's
I
a
got a
different
question
TV show
for you,
or radio
Patrick.
show.
Now, doctors, when they go to med school, then all of a sudden they have to make a specialty. Do I want to go into emergency medicine, a podiatrist, or ears, nose, and throat? Do you guys do the same thing? Or is it, I'm a lawyer, I passed the bar, and now let me learn more about a certain field that I find interesting?
Yeah, well, It really, I suppose, depends. There's really only a
It's
couple
always
of,
the answer, isn't it? It depends.
I mean, I should have that like tattooed somewhere on me because
Yeah.
that's like the typical you'll hear from a lawyer.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of areas that would require like an additional credentialing, like patent law or something like that,
Okay.
where you'd want to have either like a life sciences undergraduate or an engineering. So those, if you're going to go into that, you'd usually specifically focus there. But otherwise, it's either going to be I dreamt of being a criminal defense lawyer my whole life, and so I'm focused there. I'm going to go do that. Or it's, I hope someone hires me. Whatever they hire me to do, I'll do that. That was
Okay.
me.
All right.
And then and that sounds kind of bleak, but what that provided was a broad education in a whole lot of different areas of law, and I then, at a certain point in my career, made the conscious choice to become primarily a real estate lawyer. And that was how it evolved for me. I would imagine either you fall into it or you make a conscious decision, but there's no, other than bringing yourself up to speed on the law and gaining experience, finding mentorship if needed.
Experience is always key in
well,
all of our lines of work.
No
you
doubt.
know. What about paralegals? What's your thought on, paralegals doing real estate?
I think that a paralegal can provide a vital role in a transaction.
Okay.
I don't happen to use a paralegal, but when I have in the past, it's been very beneficial in the
Okay.
sense that they take a lot of the more mundane aspects of the practice off of your plate. And really, honestly, with paralegals, I feel like they're undervalued in the sense that really an
Interesting.
experienced paralegal, the only difference between the lawyer and the paralegal will be that credentialing. So
I got a story for that one.
Chime
So
in,
I've got,
go
yeah,
for it.
no, I
I'm
got.
coming to you next, so
so
go in
we,
there. You know what? Before
par-
you do that, Adam, how do people get hold of you? I want to go around the horn.
yeah, absolutely. So Adam Murphy with Berkshire Hathaway. We're the ATM team, and 708-595-2417. Adam at the ATM, like the cash machine, team, like a football team.com.
And that's also your website as
Yeah,
well, the
correct.
ATM
Yep,
team.
the ATMteam.com.
Fantastic. Patrick, please.
Right. So I said my phone number twice. I won't do that again. Instead, if you are the emailing type, you just like to sit behind the screen and fire off things. Cool. Go ahead and do that. You would email me at Patrick at Loftus. You spell that LOF as in Frank, T as in Tom, U, S as in Sam, .law. You wouldn't believe how people misspell my name. It's not that hard,
Really?
but oh my goodness gracious. That's why I have to go through that whole.
Yep.
It's a lot harder than Bellefontaine.
Same with the cash machine. It's like, they ATM, it's cash machine.
How hard could it be?
Team, football team.
Yeah, apparently
Oh,
harder than I would.
They don't hear it right.
And Joey had to step away from the microphone for a little bit. He works with the Federal Savings Bank. His phone number is 630-235-2405. And because he's not here to say it, his tagline is the okayest mortgage broker out there, and I just
world's
love it.
okayest.
Thank you for
Yeah,
the correction. The
world's
world's okayest. And my name is Charlie Bellefontaine. We own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. We're going to claim that we're the highest rated home inspection company in the entire Chicagoland area. We are a multi-inspector firm that really just goes out of our way to do more, know more, be more, and help our clients as much as we can. And that's our big, audacious goal. Our phone number is 312-544-9180. And Adam, you were talking about
paralegals.
Paralegals. Sorry, I
So
interrupted.
I got to give a shout out to a great paralegal, Samantha Underwood. So we were working with an attorney.
Give the whole thing. You can't just throw a name. Give us some contact information if you can remember it.
I mean,
Otherwise-
it's Gurney Law Group is
That'll
the
work.
attorney that we use a lot. So she's there now. But the story is, we were working with a different attorney for a while, and it was great. But Samantha, the paralegal, wasn't happy there, and she shifted over to Adam Gurney, and we followed the paralegal because she was
Wow.
amazing.
How about that one?
So there you go. I mean, it might be a thing.
I've worked with Samantha, but I'll ask you not to talk about other lawyers on this program. Thank you very much.
I wasn't. I was being politically correct here.
I'm teasing. Adam's a fine lawyer. We
And
both,
yeah.
I believe we both use the same title company, and also I believe a real producer partner.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
And full disclosure, I haven't worked with either one of you guys, but you both seem, from our interaction, fantastic at your
I could
professions.
speak for Patrick. I'm a real slouch, all right? I'm going to go back to Caddyshack in here. Don't cut myself short. I'm a tremendous slouch.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think a paralegal can provide tremendous value. Now, I get along great with Adam Gurney, and he provides the value as well. We stuck with him because he's good. But, yes, Samantha, a good paralegal keeps the communication going, right?
But that has to build up trust before somebody puts you at that level, right? Would you both agree to that or not?
I would hope so, yeah. I wouldn't want to just chuck anybody. I mean, I've used paralegals that I'm just like, man, this person is awesome. And I've used other paralegals where I'm just like, I can't believe I just paid that person to do what they did because they didn't do much.
And I think it goes back to how much experience each individual has.
Yeah.
And what they could do and learn how to do it right. As long as we're, like you're still solo, right, Patrick?
Indeed.
And you are a husband and wife team.
Yeah, but I also have a lot of assistants. So I'll give a shout out. So my paralegal essentially would be Bonnie Glass. I say she's my right-hand ma'am because...
I like that. I'm going to steal that, by the way.
And so, she's a licensed agent, but she's more of the inside real estate agent. So she's the one helping me with a lot of the communication with the buyers.
Okay.
And I mean, it's really, for us, you get 2 for 1, right? You get 2 real estate agents for the same price, right?
Yeah.
And so I handle a lot of buyers, and I'm out in the field a lot, and that's where I'm comfortable. I'm in construction work, right? You put me behind a computer, in 15 minutes, I'm falling asleep. So, I'd get me in the car and drive me around looking at houses.
We put the waker-upper on you here.
Yeah, exactly. So Bonnie's my paralegal. She kind of does everything behind the scenes, helps with pulling the comparable properties and prepping offers and stuff like that. And that's grown. Like, she's been with us over 5 years now. So.
Nice.
And it's a fantastic setup, and that's what allows me to get out and help 50 plus buyers in a year. So
that's amazing. I mean, that's 50 plus. That's 1 closing a week.
As a team,
and that's just a buyer.
Yeah. So as a team, we hovered around 100 transactions. So between 100 and then the COVID burst, we did, I think, 117 in 2020. But then we've been 100. So
I had people begging me for inspections, literally saying, "We'll pay double. We'll do this." I'm like, "We're not going to do it. This is our schedule. It's booked. We're 2 weeks out because everybody was so desperate on that." But I couldn't squeeze in more because then I'm going to ruin my reputation. I didn't want to do that.
Right.
So I get all that.
I know what it takes for me to handle 100 plus transactions, and I know how much more time goes into your part of the process. So that's incredible that you're able to produce that much volume.
Yeah, I couldn't do it without our assistants. So my wife's got a couple, Crystal and Jackie on the back end that helps her with the listing side.
And what's that called? Ministerial duties or something like that?
Yeah, we're all licensed agents on our team.
Okay.
So other than I've got a scheduling coordinator. She's not licensed, but she just is setting it up.
But she doesn't have to be.
Right. No, not for setting up, appointments and stuff like that. So, yeah. But, it can bring, that's the whole complexity of more people in a transaction. So that's the thing that we got to balance every time. But, it's working good.
No, I got you. One other thing, too. Let's pick on me. All right. How do you know? And I know you work with Phil Gould, and I like Phil. I have a lot of respect. I'm never afraid to speak highly of a competitor, and that's actually is a direct reflection on you. Yeah. And that builds your respect in my mind. I respect you more because you're going to go with somebody who I think truly has a passion and care and tries hard.
Right.
All right. So what makes a good home inspector for you? Why wouldn't that person be a good
education?
partner?
Education.
Go into more detail, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're at a home inspection, I don't want them just to say something about, an issue, right? A defect, whatever, and then just move on. Or, there's inspectors that don't say anything,
Yeah.
and then everything just gets thrown on the client in the report, right? And so, I would rather them be willing to spend the time and interact with the buyer on site. Yeah. And, if there's a question and I feel like, you run into some buyers that can drag a question on, well, then I'll step in and let Phil go on.
Yeah.
And I'll buffer that. But for the most part, I want that client following the inspector. So that way, when we're reviewing the report, it makes sense.
And I cannot encourage that enough. Whether you work with us or another company, you want to be there. This is your money, your home, your everything, your family, your life. They're all living there. You need to see these things with your own eyes.
Yep.
Taking a two-dimensional picture, and I'm going through all that now when I review our inspectors' reports and do that interview with our clients, and all I have to go on are the pictures from the reports, which, quite frankly, Patrick, is pretty much all you got to go on. And you too, unless you were there.
No, I'm
Adam.
there, right? Like, I can't do that. I'd love to be there and see it too, so I know.
But I keep telling, our guys, if we don't take close-up, far-away pictures, if we don't go into greater detail about the location and where these things are, it doesn't mean, unless you're better than I am at this stuff, but it doesn't really help you too much to do your job on how significant is this thing. Am I wrong in that, or?
No, you're not wrong. Really, if you could level up any of your inspector's ability to take good pictures of this stuff, you will be doing both the buyer and me a massive
everybody
service.
Involved.
And that comes into the reports, right? Like, the report software, I feel like, makes and breaks an inspector. I might have a great experience with an inspector out in the field, and then we get his report, and it is just garbage. It's canned. Everything is, you can tell it's just a canned report. Throw in a couple pictures at the end, say it's defective, whatever, and that's it. That's the report. Well, that doesn't help.
No, not that helpful, especially if it doesn't have the detail necessary. That's going to go into my letter, and if what the inspector wrote is incoherent, then my letter is going to be incoherent, and we're not going to get anything accomplished.
No, and it's easily destroyed from the other side, and we're there to help our clients. Whatever it is, we're to give them enough ammunition to let them do whatever it is that they need to do. We are getting short on time a little bit. We got a little more than a minute to go. I would like to go around the horn one more time and just give out the contact information.
Yeah, great.
Please, Adam, if you could start.
Yeah, Adam Murphy. We're the ATM team with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Chicago. 708-595-2417. Adam at the ATM, like the cash machine, team like the football team.com. And if you get a card from me, here's the card for people seeing at home.
And don't be afraid to look on this. If you're listening on the radio, you could go to Chicagoland Home Inspectors, search for them on YouTube. You will find these videos. They are live, and you can see pictures of everything. And then also the Homebuyers Hour on Facebook, and they'll have links. Patrick, how do we get hold of you?
If you want to reach a real-life attorney who will actually talk to you, right, not my assistant or anyone else, the number is 773-632-8330.
Fantastic. And then Joey's remotely with the Federal Savings Bank at 630-235-2405. Chicagoland Home Inspectors, 312-544-9180. I want to thank everybody for listening to WCPT AM 820, and a special thank you to our producer, Devin Tingle. And this is Charlie, and I am out.